extremely small podcast episode if we were discussing what Starmer's done right. It'd be like, all right, Ash, all right, Nick, happy Christmas, goodbye. That'd be the end of the podcast.
Yeah, so Nigel Farage and Reform UK, it's hard to argue. They've had a very good year, isn't it? I mean, they've to get 5 MPs was a massive achievement in itself on a shoestring budget. The manifesto was a pack of lies. Everything he said to people was a pack of lies. Even those that voted for him and thought he might not be too bad, or he was a lesser of two evils, just want to punish the Tories, whatever. I don't know anybody, in fact I do, I know one person, who voted Labour that hasn't changed their minds.
What is your prediction for next year? Give me one prediction for 2025 that we need to be watching out for. Ho, 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 and welcome to Nick Talks. This episode's amazing little elf is Ash, that Preston journalist guy. So first of all, welcome Ash to the show.
Hi Nick, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Today is Christmas Day. It's not really Christmas Day. It's a few days before, but we're recording this especially for Christmas Day, special edition. So hope your day's going well. My day's going fine, nice and quiet, as I always want it. Let's jump straight into this. It's almost the end of the year, so let's do some evaluation. What's your take on the three main leaders in the UK? What's your take on, let's start with Starmer, then we'll do Badenoch, and then we'll do Farage. How have they done? Better than expected, worse than expected? And is there any surprises coming down the line for them?
If we're starting with Starmer, I mean, a lot of it's self-explanatory, isn't it? We cover it a lot. I mean, it'd be easier to say the things that haven't gone right, wouldn't you? Because you'd be hard pressed to find anything that's actually gone right for the guy.
Well, it would be an extremely, extremely small podcast episode if we were discussing what Starmer's done right. It'd be like, all right, Ash, all right, Nick, happy Christmas, goodbye. That'd be the end of the podcast.
Exactly. I mean, I honestly cannot think of something off the top of my head that he's got right since he came into office. I know for a fact now as well, by the way, that not just his own backbenchers, but cabinet ministers are up in arms with him. They are furious with him about some of the U-turns that he's been doing recently with WASPy women and stuff. His approval ratings sit at minus 60%. The approval rating for the government is minus 70%. His cabinet ministers' approvals are also being dragged down with him. I mean, they do that themselves as well, but nevertheless. I know that your prediction was he won't last till Christmas. I was of a similar school of thought for a while. Personally, obviously, I mean, he's lasted, hasn't he? He'll probably go on till about May now, but he is on serious borrowed time. When his own cabinet ministers are briefing the media against him, who are bound by collective responsibility, you are in serious trouble.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a moment. So Keir Starmer has won the election. He's got a majority. He's inherited a terrible situation. It wasn't the perfect time to take over. We're almost bankrupt anyway. Labour always take over when there's a good economy so they can spend. They've not done it this time. So it would have been hard for anybody. Plus, our belief in politicians is rock bottom anyway. So no matter who took over, we'd hate them straight away. Is there any, I'm not being sarcastic now. This is a proper question. Is there anything he's done okay at? Is there anything you would think he did all right with that since he's become PM?
Something he's done okay at. Honestly, I'm genuinely struggling. I can't think of anything that he's done okay. I mean, the manifesto was a pack of lies. Everything he said to people was a pack of lies. Even those that voted for him and thought he might not be too bad, or he was a lesser of two evils, just want to punish the Tories, whatever. I don't know anybody. In fact, I do. I know one person who voted Labour that hasn't changed their minds. Pretty much everybody I know that voted Labour has changed their minds. They think, "Oh my God, what have we done?" And it's not just politics, Nick. It's Starmer. It's him. It's his lack of charisma, his lack of personality, his lack of sympathy, empathy. The fact that the guy, as we've said many, many times, is just an empty suit. There is no political intelligence there. There is no emotional intelligence there. The guy cannot read the room. I saw him get an interview by Harry Cole from The Sun the other day, and he said, "Did you think it'd be this tough in government?" He said, "Have you made any mistakes?" And he said, "Are you offended by the nicknames like 3 gear Keir, 2 tier here and all that stuff. And he just laughed and went, "Oh, I've been called worse in the past." This guy has zero grasp of reality. He doesn't. To say he doesn't read the room is an understatement. He really is emotionless, a robot. I called him the Dalek of Downing Street a while ago, and I stick by. That's exactly what he is. This guy is just a robot. He's just a robot.
I mean, he has inherited a bit of a mess, and he's not the most skilled person when it comes to personality and charisma and communication. And that's all a given, but that's not really his fault. We don't always need a showman to lead this country. We need someone who's competent, someone who puts us first, someone who starts improving things. I don't have to like my leader as long as they're taking us to a better place. And I think that's his big failing is I can't see where he's taking us. And the glimpses I'm getting, it looks like it's going to be hell.
Right, all right, I take your point there. Fair enough. It's not his fault that he's an empty suit. That's just the way he is. He's a very dull person. Fine. All right, I get that. The problem is then, if you're that boring and you're that bad, surround yourself with people who know how to do the job. You yourself said a while ago, build a grand coalition for Farage, build a coalition of people who know what they're talking about in certain areas. He's surrounded himself with yes men and women, mainly women. He's got people like Liz Kendall announcing the Waspy Women U-turn. Where was Starmer? He jetted off to Estonia. He's got people like Angela Rayner, another lapdog, who really can't stand him. Everyone knows they can't stand each other, but she's happy for some reason, maybe for the ministerial salary, to give out bad news on his behalf. These people are a load of whipping men and women who go out there and give out bad news for Starmer while he jets off around the world. I mean, there's one thing to be not a great leader, don't inspire people, but as you said, if the policies were right, then people might actually just think, yes, he's a boring git, but actually, I've got more money in my bank account. But that isn't the case. It's the complete opposite. And every time these women have to, or these men, whoever it may be, have to announce something in Parliament that pisses a lot of people off, Starmer is never there by their sides. They are scapegoat. They are one big cabinet of scapegoats for Starmer.
We all should know our weaknesses and we should get help and support when we know we have certain weaknesses. He must know his weakness, his presentation. Therefore, you're right. He should have one or two cabinet members who are basically like Boris Johnson, who can control the room, who's people have an affinity with. Can like I mean, Boris Johnson turns out to be an idiot. I mean, I can't stand the man anymore, but he had personality. Keir Starmer should have realised he lacks there. He may be good at the detail. He may be an extremely intelligent man. I don't know, but he should have known he needed help there. Now that's Labour. Tories got a hammering at the election. Worst defeat in my lifetime. I think it's the second worst defeat ever for them. Surely they've learnt their lessons, and the leader they've elected now must be doing a good job and is ready to build the party back into the amazing Conservative Party we had in the 80s. Is that happening?
No, and I've got to eat a bit of humble. I've got to eat a bit of humble pie here as well. I mean, as many people know, I was a Tory member, stood to be a Tory councillor. I left the party. I can't remember now, 21, 22, something like that. I preferred Kemi because I thought she was pretty sincere in most things she spoke about, other than immigration. I thought Jenrick was very disingenuous. He's never been this right winger in the Conservative Party. In fact, he's been very happy to go where the wind blows, and just as long as he gets a cabinet job, he's never really given a toss what the Prime Minister believes in. However, Kemi Badenoch has been an unmitigated disaster since she came in to be Conservative leader. She is constantly floundering at PMQs. I mean, if you're making Starmer look fairly competent at PMQs, then you're not good at the ballot box. She was actually quite good at the ballot box as a cabinet minister, but maybe the pressure's too much for her as leader of the opposition when all eyes are on you. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. This leadership contest in the Conservative Party, I've come to the conclusion it's not over. This leadership contest is still going on. And it turns out, I think that you were absolutely spot on when you said, I think a few months ago now, you said Kemi Badenoch was an interim leader, a caretaker. And that's exactly what she's going to be. If you look at news channels now, places like Talk TV or GB News and stuff. Robert Jenrick is everywhere. He's like shit in a field. You can't move for him. He is still campaigning for this leadership contest, and he's still saying the same things like the Farage-esque things, if you like, that he was saying during the leadership contest. And he's actually doing I would actually say he's doing a better job of opposing Labour just by sitting behind a microphone than Kemi is doing, or for that matter, anybody sitting on those Conservative benches is doing at the moment of opposing Labour. And maybe it's not Kemi's fault. Maybe she was pushed into it. Maybe people are calling her a globalist shill and things like that. So maybe it's not entirely her fault, but I'm afraid she's not up to the task. Unless there's a miraculous turnaround, she's not up to this job, and she'll be lucky to see next Christmas. Very, very lucky indeed.
The Tories got a beating in July this year, a severe beating. And what they decided was we need to elect the continuity candidate, which was Kemi Badenoch. They they haven't had a discussion internally yet about what the Tory party is about, what the Tory party stands for. All they know at the moment is what it's been standing for 14 years. We don't want, and we don't want to elect it again. They must know that. But the reason why I thought she's the interim leader is because this is going to take several years for them to work out who they are, what they want, what the policies are, and the direction of travel they're going to go in. So they picked the continuity candidate, which was a mistake. I wouldn't have voted for her. But the leader they need will depend on the party they want to be. And I don't know if they're going to make those changes until they get another hammering at the local elections, a couple of years on the trot, local elections being hammered, or until there's a coup, because the heart of the Tory party is up for grabs at the moment, and we don't know who's going to grab it. Is it going to be the Tory Lib Dems, the Wets, or is it going to be the true Tories, the ones who are more like Farage, who want a small state, who want the end of the wokeness and want end of immigration, and they've not had their internal civil war yet, and that's to come.
Well, there's still a lot of those Tory wets there. There are still some of the right wingers there, like Priti Patel and Suella Braverman. Personally, I think Suella Braverman's just hanging around for now, just to see how it plays out. I think she's going to end up in Reform UK sooner or later, anyway. And she'd be very welcome, actually, in my eyes as well, to go to Reform UK. She's very good. I do accept, though, that Kemi Badenoch has taken over a thankless task. She's got almost an impossible job. How do you unite a party that is so divided in its beliefs that they can't even get together during a general election campaign to give out the same message, a united message? And it would take an exceptional person to do that. And I'm afraid I actually think it's a pretty impossible task that with how divided they are. They call it a broad church, but it's just division. And Kemi Badenoch obviously isn't up to the job. It's probably not all her fault either. I mean, as I just said, it would take someone supremely confident and very, very effective in the leadership skills, in the vision for the country to inspire this party to reunite itself again. And you're probably right. They'll probably go through two or three leaders before they even manage to get close to reorganizing themselves. And by then, they could be a third or fourth party in the country. They might not even be the second party in the country anymore. But I do, in that respect, I have some sympathy for Kemi. But then again, we can't forget she wanted the job. She put herself up, and now she can't stand the heat. Get out the kitchen.
And never forget, she was involved in the government for 14 years. She's not clean on this. The 14 years of failure, she's got her hands on a lot of it because she was a senior Tory in the ranks. That's why I despise all the senior Tories who were in that government. I don't want any of them leading the Tory party because they're all damaged goods, if you ask me. They either believed in it, or they're just career politicians, didn't care, or they were too weak to stand up to what was going on. Any of them, I wouldn't want any of them. Now, the third part, I mean, we could talk about the Lib Dems, we could talk about the Greens, but you know what? We haven't got time to talk about irrelevance here. So let's talk about the only other party leader who's worth talking about in the UK at the moment, and that has to be Nigel Farage. He wasn't even the party leader 6 months ago. He was an honorary president of the party and had nothing to do with the party really. And then he became leader at the general election. And I would say he's had a hell of a year.
Yeah, so Nigel Farage and Reform UK, it's hard to argue. They've had a very good year, isn't it? I mean, they've to get five MPs was a massive achievement in itself on a shoestring budget. If people don't say this, but they've actually got six MPs who take the whip from them because they've got the guy from Northern Ireland as well. I forget his name now, but he takes a Reform whip as well. They have had some fortune as well. Let's not forget. I mean, they've got fantastic campaigners on their side like Farage and people who are quite well liked like Lee Anderson, but they've also got um, the political waves, if you will, being parted for them. You've got Labour on one side falling to pieces. You've got the Tories, who are a smouldering wreck of a party, and coming right through the middle is Reform UK, who are, as I've said many times, pushing at an open door, if you will. All they've got to do is keep marching forward steadily. Don't do anything stupid. Don't make any gaffes. Let's hope there's no skeletons in the closet, etc. Keep vetting your candidates. Make sure you don't get any dodgy people in the party. And without really doing a great deal, if you will, they've actually managed to attract Nick Candy now, the property billionaire. Elon Musk, through Nigel Farage's ties with America, is very, very keen to stick a lot of money in the party by the sounds of it, or certainly some money in the party. I mean, I bet they can't believe their luck. Just the way that the political system is collapsing around them. I mean, I personally think they should be doing more. They could be doing a lot more to oppose the establishment, not just Labour, but go for the Tories as well. Go for a lot of them. Show that you're different to the rest. That would certainly help them. I mean, the most effective one there is Rupert Lowe by a long shot. And I know you said before, and so have I, they need to stop being so establishment, stop playing it so safe, talk about more cultural issues, be more controversial. There's nothing wrong with that. But then again, they let Lee Anderson do a lot of that heavy lifting. But Nigel Farage himself, as the leader, is, let's face it, he's formidable. He's a formidable political force. He's got obviously got very good people around him that advise him. He's got very good political antennae himself. He's probably the best debater that I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. He doesn't need scripts, he doesn't need notes, he just knows things off the top of his head. It's incredible how he can literally, if like question time the other week with people like Alistair Campbell and Jackie Smith and all them lot, he just sits back and he's laughing. He's actually enjoying this stuff. They've got veins throbbing in their heads, trying to have a go at him, and he's just sat there laughing and completely giving it back. He's the best leader of a political party in this country at the moment by a long chalk, and you can definitely see why he's got that X factor, if you will. Why people are so willing to follow Farage, believe in Farage, and he won't be leader forever. I mean, the guy's what 60 now, isn't he? So he's not going to be leader forever, but whoever comes after him has got a tough job, some big shoes to fill in Reform UK.
So, who would you say? I mean, I think I know the answer. Who would you say has been the outstanding political leader this year in the UK?
It's got to be Nigel.
And who would you say has been the worst leader?
Starmer.
Yeah, I mean, it's they were questions I asked and I knew the answers to
Yeah.
because I couldn't see how you could give different answers to my answers there.
You can't. I did think about Badenoch, but she's also taken over a disastrous situation. Whereas Starmer, from a very strong start, has actually managed to cock everything up in record time.
Let's end with a former leader who I despised from the moment I saw the picture of him. Before he even opened his mouth, he's got one of those faces you go, I don't like him. I don't know why, but I don't like him. And it's Hamza Useless, the former leader of the SNP, former First Minister of Scotland, who's now just a member of the Scottish Parliament, who's announced he's stepping down in the new year. What do you think about that?
I think it's fantastic news. I think it's inevitable. He is an out and out racist. Let's get that out there straight away. He's completely racist and has said that he wants to go and get a job on the global stage with conflict resolution or anti-racism work, believe it or not. Something that he also said, and I put I do actually know for a fact that some SNP politicians watch my videos because they can't stand me. Um, I'm also on a list of people that are banned from SNP events and stuff. Um, I hope he saw the video that I put out, and I put a challenge out to him because a while ago he said he wanted to leave the UK because of growing Islamophobia. So I put a video out about him leaving Holyrood, and I said, I'll put this out to you now. If you want to leave the UK, Hamza Yusuf, I will pay for you, your wife, and your children a one-way ticket to anywhere you want in the world, on the proviso that you do not come back to Britain ever. And whether he'll take that option or not, I don't know. Maybe, you know, these people like their freebies and the donations, so he might take it. Who knows? But it's fantastic news, and you know, he never goes to his constituency anyway. The reasons for that are fairly well documented, but also unproven. But he never goes to his constituency. He doesn't live in his constituency. He doesn't know anything about it. It's just that for years now, people have been politically driven by independents or whatever to vote for the SNP regardless. And that's why you're seeing now, not just him, but many MSPs are saying, I'm quitting. Just like many SNP MPs did before the general election. They're saying, I've had enough and I'm leaving. It's because they've never had to fight for anything in their lives. It was simply walk into this seat in the Central Belt, Glasgow or something, and it was a safe seat and it was easy. Now they're having to fight for their seats and they're probably going to lose a hell of a lot of them. So now they don't want to do that. They don't want the challenge. They're not up for it. And Hamza Yusuf couldn't campaign to save his life anyway.
Right, let's end on this one point, this one idea. What is your prediction for next year? Give me one prediction for 2025 that we need to be watching out for.
One prediction. I'll give you two.
Right.
I'll give you Starmer will not be Prime Minister by New Year 2025, New Year's Eve 2025. Right. And the second one is Reform UK will be in double figure MPs by next Christmas.
Right. So you're predicting some by-elections and then winning by-elections and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Right. Fantastic. Well, that's on record now. So we'll find out if you're right, because it looks like my prediction of Starmer gone by Christmas, which I've been saying for 3-4 months. I might change that now. I didn't mean this Christmas. I meant next Christmas. Ash, cheers for coming along. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas day. Don't eat too much turkey, mince pies, and I'll catch you again in the new year.
Cheers, Nick. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.